What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of DiabloCast. This is episode number 61. It's been a few weeks since the last one. 2 or 3 weeks to be exact. I don't really know. A whole bunch of stuff has gone on between now and then, and of course we'll be talking about it. And I'm sure if you're here on the channel, you watched my last Diablo video, which was why I stopped playing Diablo 3. Oh, drama-inducing it was indeed. I'll talk about that briefly as well. But with me this week, let's get the lineup here. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome back Kevin Six and Carlino. Welcome back to the show, Kevin.
What's going on, guys?
Since you were last on, which I think was just before release, you've been doing a ton of stuff too. So you have your own Twitch TV channel. How's that been going for you?
Yeah, it's been going pretty good. I mean, it's a lot of fun just being able to sit down and like talk about Diablo all day. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. And is it daily stuff that you do on that channel?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's called the Diablo Daily, and my goal is to, do like a daily show like Day 9s, but I only do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because I'm taking summer classes, so I gotta do school sometimes.
You gotta learn your edumacation. It's important.
Yeah, I gotta get that edumacation.
There you go. And why don't you give people just the address for that too, just so they know your site thing?
Yeah, sure. So you guys can just watch my, like I said, my Diablo Daily. I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, and it's just twitch.tv/Sixin.
All right. Just wanted to give you a little plug. A lot of people are asking, hey, where's Kevin been? Why isn't Kevin on DiabloCast? So happy to have him back and get them knowing about your content. And of course, we have got also Mr. Jesse Cox. Welcome back, sir.
Hello, gentlemen. Once more into the breach, dear friends.
Into the fray. Is that what they say? Isn't there some saying?
Once more into the breach, Henry V. God, so uneducated. Thankfully, Kevin's going to summer school so he can learn that.
Spread the knowledge here. Spread the knowledge.
Yeah.
I'll just learn through osmosis talking to you guys. That works for me.
Thank you. Now, yeah. Hey, everybody. How's it going? It's been one of them weeks.
It's a busy summer.
Yeah.
I've been busy doing stuff. Jaded's here. What's up?
Hello.
Most unorthodox opening to DiabloCast ever. How you been, Jaded? What have you been up to the past couple of weeks?
I've been sweating a lot because it's hot as balls.
Part of the course.
And I don't have AC, so that's always fun.
Terrible.
Yeah.
How's the world of Diablo been treating you?
It's been going. Been getting kind of burned a little bit lately on it, but taking a little breather from it, and I'll be getting back to some more shortly, of course.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing I did want to, I wanted to start off the cast just kind of talking just briefly about that, and I think this is a really good crew for us to have to chat about this as well, because I think we've got a fairly good mix of players in terms of the amount that we play, how frequently we play, and kind of how we approach the game. A lot of people have talked about getting burnt out, and just to briefly touch on the video that I put out earlier in the week, why I stopped playing Diablo 3. I think some people kind of took that video as a like a bashing of the game and saying that the game is terrible, and I just kind of want to first of all state that I'm pretty sure I made it kind of clear, but I'll repeat myself. I don't think the game is bad. I think it's a great game. I think the combat's a lot of fun. I think that I just kind of burnt out on it for a multitude of reasons. Playing a lot was one of them, and issues with the end game, which we'll be talking about here as our first major topic, just talking about Diablo 3 end game, kind of what it consists of, what changes can be made, and stuff like that. But it wasn't so much a railing on the game. It was just sort of, I made that video to let you guys know, hey, I'm kind of not playing a lot anymore, and that's kind of why you're not seeing a ton of Diablo content. In fact, there was more Diablo content pre-release than there was post-release from me. And that was just kind of the reason, because my playtime had slowed up a bit and taken a break for now. And I'm still hopping on, and maybe I'll start to hop on more frequently. Maybe I'll try different things, different ways to approach the game. But the hardcore grind was kind of getting very tedious for me because of repair costs and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, the game in its current state, again, it's a lot of fun. I think that the end of the game is having some issues, but maybe this can be our first point of discussion. End game in Diablo 3. We talked about this a lot pre-release. I know, especially with you, Kevin, this is something that we chatted about a lot.
I was going to say, can I butt in here? Because, I mean, last September when they announced Inferno, and I went for that whole episode, Dennis. I was like, Inferno's not an end game, and people just hated me after that. Like, I was just the biggest douchebag in the world. Nobody could stand me, and then look where we are.
Yeah, and Jesse, you were about to chime in with something, eh?
No, I was about to say we did have this conversation that there is no end game in Diablo 3, like in Diablo in general.
Oh yeah, and I think that's kind of the point that I want to bring up because it's so interesting. I mean, there's been a blue post on the forums, and I'll go ahead and load that up here really quick just so you guys can read it as well. We were talking about it. So there's a blue post on the forums from Bashiok stating that, hey, you know, we kind of realize that there's no end game and we've got these different plans for things we can do. And one big thing that he said here, and I think this is really true and really important to consider, is about halfway, a little bit after halfway through the first paragraph, he states, but honestly, Diablo 3 is not World of Warcraft, and we aren't going to be able to pump out tons of new systems and content every couple of months. Of course, the reason for this, and many might argue because of the auction house that they're making tons of money, but even with the auction house, they're not making as much as they do from World of Warcraft, and because of that, they're just not able to finance like these continuous massive system updates. It's not like we're going to be getting a whole new act just randomly in a patch. Like, that'll come in expansions, but don't expect that every couple of months, sort of like you can get new content and stuff in World of Warcraft, new raids and all those things. It's not gonna really happen in Diablo 3, but I mean, you look at Diablo 2, and obviously that's going to be our reference point, the last game in the series. What's the difference? You know, the end game, the major thing people are going to say, they're going to yell at me for just stating what the difference is, that a major issue is just the item drops and how difficult it is to get upgrades because of the auction house's existence. But still, in terms of the physical gameplay, you were grinding for gear, and some people were doing PvP as well. And PvP isn't here yet; it's coming in 1.1. But grinding for gear is and always has been Diablo. So I'm not sure what else people expected in terms of like content and what you're doing. Now, just to add on that, the biggest complaint with sure, grinding for gear is the game. We understand that, Force. We're not retarded, but the problem with Diablo 3, and I think the issues that a lot of people are having, was that the drop rates and the chances of getting upgrades are so low because the auction house exists. Because with the implementation of the auction house, they actually scaled down the chance to get items because they figured, well, players would be acquiring stuff through the auction house as well. And so they're like, well, you know, we'll cut back on the chance for people to get items in the world, assuming that they're also going to be using the auction house. And I think that that's where a lot of people are having the biggest problem with the end game right now. Jaded, I'd like to just get your opinion kind of on Diablo 3 end game, very broad stroke kind of thing.
Well, when you talk about items, I mean, that's bigger than just the items themselves, and I think it's one of the biggest problems with the game. But like what goes into just items is more than that, because you're talking, you know, it's dependent on character stats and how those have changed, how the skill system's changed. A lot of that's kind of come to the point where we are now with items where we don't get as interesting of items that we had in Diablo 2. And for me, that's the biggest problem, even though there are other issues. But just the fact that when you get a legendary, and especially weapons, and how those stats have changed, like if you get a low DPS weapon, it's garbage, right?
Yeah.
No one's going to use it. So that's been the biggest issue, hands down, for me.
Yeah, and I think that that's the biggest issue for a lot of players, and I think that that's where I kind of ran into problems, because I was playing through, I was farming. I think when I kind of stopped playing, when I put the game down and took a break from it, I was farming Act 3 Inferno, and I just never got anything that I considered an upgrade, ever. All I was doing, and all pretty much everyone was doing, was farming gear, and they would get okay stuff, but it was rarely an upgrade. They would sell it on the auction house. It was just all about accumulating gold and then trying to buy stuff. And of course, the issue with that is that you've got gold farmers making 14 times more than you could ever make every hour.
Yeah. Well, I actually don't have an issue with the drop rate as much as other people. Like, I still get a ton of rare. I mean, everyone gets a ton of rares, and a lot of them are useless. But I've gotten set pieces here and there. I've gotten legendaries here and there. The issue is just they're not good. And you know, once they go in and tune those up, I think the game will just be much better for it. And hoping that somebody knows what they're doing with the items this time around than, you know, when the game launched.
Yeah. And I mean, Blizzard's aware of these problems. They're making changes. They just recently, in a hot fix, upped the drop rate chance for items across the board, you know. And this was not too long ago, not even a week ago that happened. So let's go on to you, Kevin. What are you thinking about the current state of the game in terms of end game content and gear and items and encounters and everything like that?
I mean, I totally agree with what you guys have pretty much said. Like, legendaries are just not cool to have. I mean, that's just how it was in Diablo 2. You got a great drop, and it was cool to have. Although you also focused on different things. So let me just clarify that. When I was in Diablo 2, and I always mix up rares and uniques, but whichever one it was, you know, Stone of Jordan, whatever, those were what, rares, I think is what they were called?
Uniques.
Okay, yes. Like I said, I always get them confused. So, yeah. So, like Jada just said, you in Diablo 2, you're looking for unique items. Stone of Jordan, Herald of Zakarum is what I think it was. You know, the Haws. And now in Diablo 3, we're not looking for those unique items, or AKA legendaries. Now we're looking for rare items. So we're just looking for not necessarily cool drops. What we're looking for now is just higher stats, and that to me just takes like the cool factor out of it, because now I'm not like, yeah, I want a Stone of Jordan and I want a Haws and Bull Kathos, which is actually now legendary, but now it's like, cool, so great, I got, you know, 131 strength instead of 129. I'm just going to use this item. Like, nobody cares, and that's part of the problem. And then, I mean, as far as endgame goes, like, you guys already know my opinion on that. I said this pre-beta, like, Inferno is not an endgame. It's just a means to an endgame. So, I don't know. Personally, I would like to see Pandemonium events like they did in Diablo 2. I mean, those came way later, but it gave people a reason to farm, you know, random items to get these events to spawn, and then farm better gear to complete these events. And then, of course, I definitely want to see competitive PvP.
Yeah, and I mean that'll be coming. And speaking on that, we'll swing it on over to Jesse now as hardcore arena PvP mastermind. Jesse, do you have any input on endgame? I know you kind of approach the game a little differently, and I'd like to talk on styles in just a few minutes. But how are you with Diablo 3 right now? Do you have a level 60 yet? Or are you just kind of chugging your way along?
I think when it comes to endgame in Diablo 3, it's exactly what they promised. I mean, they said this is what it's going to be. And I think since a lot of people are there, they're looking for more, which I guess means it's a good thing that people enjoy the game. They just want more. But I kind of wonder, I think Kevin was right on the whole Pandemonium events and different things. Like, I don't understand why that wasn't in the game to begin with, or more hidden events or different things people could do at endgame to make it a little bit more difficult,
right,
or to have challenges. I don't understand why that wasn't built in to begin with, because it seems like, knowing Blizzard's audience, the people who play Blizzard games, 90% of them want to keep playing after they technically beat the game, and so you would figure that would be in there. And it just, I'm baffled as to why this was not planned on, and why they didn't come up with stuff.
Well, and it's funny that almost seems like a recurring theme. It seems like there's a lot of things that they're, hell, look at one of the biggest systems in the game, PvP, was launched without it. It seems there's so much that this game either should have. It seems like, you know, at the player base especially, like, why is this not here? Why does this not exist? Pandemonium events, PvP, again, we know it was delayed, but why was that not there at launch? It just seems like there's so much that there should have been, but just it's not there. It didn't come with launch, and it makes it feel a lot like an unfinished product. And I think that's a lot of criticism that Blizzard has been getting on the game, is that very thing, that, hey, this game doesn't seem complete. You know, it seems like there's a lot of stuff that should be here that isn't, and well, what gives kind of deal. So it's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty interesting and unfortunate at the same time, I guess, because I think that with so much hype that came up to the launch of the game, you know, Blizzard had all their ads. Like, I saw tons of ads on TV. My girlfriend was like, Diablo 3, isn't that thing that you do all the time? Like right before the game came out, I was like, yeah, it's just, it's all over the place. There's so much hype, and it became the fastest selling PC game of all time. People got it, they played it, and then after a while, so many people are getting burnt out. And it's because there's a lot of these things just aren't there. I just can't fathom, like, I think just having PvP, and it's funny though, because so much of the fan base was like, hurry up Diablo 3, get out as fast as possible. Yeah, we don't care if there's no PvP.
Right.
I think not having it at release kind of was a mistake, because I think that turned away a lot of players. And I have expressed my concerns and kind of my issues with the game. And I've mentioned, the reasons why I've taken a break and stopped playing for a while. But I am someone who is going to go back to the game. Like, I am going to play. But I don't know that that's the case for everyone, especially casual people and people who aren't familiar with the Diablo franchise at all, the type of game that it's meant to be, or the type of game that it even could be.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
it's fine.
It almost seems to me like Blizzard is saying, okay, guys, we have StarCraft 2, our competitive RTS game. We have World of Warcraft, our competitive PvP, end game, whatever type game, MMO. Well, now, you guys want to take a break from playing those competitive games? Why don't you hop on over to Diablo 3 for 10, 15 minutes to take a nice little break and then jump back? The problem is that there are those of us that want to play Diablo 3 just like other people play StarCraft and World of Warcraft. Diablo is our game, not SC2 or WoW.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me like Blizzard's like, well, why don't you take a break and play Diablo? And I'm like, well, why don't I take a break and play these?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough situation though, because you do have to. They make games and they're in the entertainment business. They're trying to put out quality content that people enjoy, but they also don't want to compete with themselves. And I do think that a major concern for Blizzard, and people outside expressed this, was that they don't want to kill WoW with this game. And lots of people thought that could happen, especially like the game first came out and they saw that 6 million. Was it 6 million? Is that the number that they got? Like 6 million, like right out the gate or something like that?
I think it was like 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah, something like that.
Somewhere around there.
So people saw those huge numbers. They're like, wow, that's a little bit over half of WoW's like current subscriber base. Like, is this going to kill WoW? And I think people are realizing this isn't that type of game, and it's something that you can always come back to, and you can hop in and leave, very quickly, and still kind of get stuff accomplished. But it's not meant to be something that takes up 8 hours a day of people's lives, like WoW can quite easily do. It's certainly going to be the case for some people that's what happens in Diablo. But I guess the point is that they don't want to compete with themselves. They've said that time and time again, and even with their upcoming MMO, they're like, look, it's going to be an MMO, but it's not going to compete with WoW. It's going to kind of cater to a little bit of a different audience. So it's also a fine line. I guess that's the point, because they don't want to kill their cash cow. They're going to do everything they can to not kill their cash cow. Implementing the AH was a kind of an attempt to alleviate that in Diablo 3, but I don't think that's enough. I mean, they've stated that that's not enough. They're not making as much off the auction house nearly as they would off a monthly subscription. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you raise a good point, Kevin. Why can't this be the game that is meant to be you take a break from, as opposed to you take a break playing? But I just in its nature, I mean, it's just more casual, the hack and slash kind of deal, and all it really is a gear check. Sure, there's skilled players, but it's not like RTS level skill to play Diablo. It's a point and click. Hell, right. You can't even use WASD movement. Like, you can only do so much with your mouse. You know what I mean? And then 1 through 4 hotkeys, but. It's I don't know. It's interesting. I think I'd like to quickly touch on also kind of the game styles. Jesse, I'd like to go to you first. I just want to kind of see where are you at with Diablo 3. Like, how are you playing the game right now? You're just kind of leveling up a few alts. You got one character you're focusing on, or how are you doing this?
I have a few alts right now. I mean, I'm trying not to get burnt out, and luckily, since I'm so ridiculously busy, the last month has been a complete mess. So, the time I find to play is when a video is rendering in the background. Mm-hmm. For me, it's I guess I'm like the anti-Kevin. For me, I'm the guy who's like, well, I'll do this for an hour today, and so that's kind of like I'm taking it very casually, which I think is why I don't have any burnout with it yet. But with that said, I remember not even a month ago logging in and seeing everyone on my friends list online and everyone in Diablo, and now it's like 3 people.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But I have found a whole new level of enjoyment, and that's doing the just randomly joining a group. It's entirely entertaining.
We need at least one anecdote from that. You have got to have some story.
Well, they're all just it's everyone has their own style of gameplay, and so some people like to explore, and other people like to run around and do stuff. Like really progress quickly. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that those two they're not compatible. And so there's times where you'll be exploring a dungeon or whatever, and all of a sudden you'll realize you're by yourself. And like swarms of enemies come after you, and you're like, well, this is unfair. So it's fun. I don't know, you just have to realize what it is. I mean, they said exactly what it was gonna be, and I think, problems aside, it is what they said. However, I do agree that I wish I could be a fly on the wall at Blizzard, because it doesn't seem like everything's okay with this release. Like, there's so many questionable moments along the line towards the release date that we kept talking about, like, why do they do this and why do they do this?
Yeah.
And I still don't think I know the answer to that stuff. Like, there's a lot of things when it comes to stuff they changed in the game and stuff that they took out of the game and stuff that they put in the game for whatever reason. There's still no answer for that. There's a lot of things they did that make no logical sense, but we sort of, at the time, were like, I can see why they would do that.
Well, but yeah, I mean, you always want to try to justify and try to like understand the reasoning behind them doing stuff. But even, I mean, hell, like, let's just to touch on your point, like things that keep fluxing and moving in and out. Look at the repair costs. Like they made it so the repairs were ridiculous, and that turned a ton of people off the game. That really had me struggling, like farming Act 3 and even just playing the game. I was taking such a significant gold hit. I was almost losing more than I was gaining. And then they just pull that back. Like they've just kind of reduced the wear and tear in a recent patch. Was it like 1.03A or something like that?
Yeah.
Where they made it so that you're not taking as much like wear and tear damage. But that just goes to show you, like, it almost seems like it's gonna be terrible, but it almost seems like they've got this big fucking dartboard of ideas, and they're just like flinging stuff at it, like, oh, let's try this, and then that doesn't work after 2 weeks. Like, all right, time to change it again.
Wasn't that on the Jay Wilson show?
The Jay Wilson show? Did I miss something?
I was reading the forums. Somebody said Jay Wilson needs to be fired again, but I was talking about the Jace Hall show. Isn't that what they did when they attended the Diablo 3 developer meeting or whatever?
Oh yeah, the joke. Yeah,
yeah.
I remember that. Maybe it's not a joke though. Maybe that's how they actually do it. Sometimes I feel that way with like stuff like that. Like that was, it just seemed so ridiculous. And I looked at that decision. I was like, how did you not? Did you guys test this? Did anyone play the game before you patched this to see like, oh guys, I'm playing and I'm losing more gold than I'm gaining. We probably shouldn't have this go live. Like,
that's. You go ahead,
go for it. Go. Nope. Age before beauty. Yeah.
Does that mean me? I don't even know. Anyways. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that have come out since the launch, like the patches and stuff, I question. But as the game was coming out, there were a lot of things that made sense, and they were streamlining a lot of things. They were making stuff just more accessible to people. Like, a lot of it sounded good, but it was taking out a lot of the like customizability. It was taking out a lot of the flair that made Diablo 2 interesting. Just a lot of the quirky, fun stuff that kind of gave it characteristic. And Diablo 3 kind of feels flat in a lot of areas.
Items are boring. So many people say that. Items just, they're not exciting. You know,
exactly.
People hated the idea that every single class could teleport, but at the same time, it's like, that's friggin' cool. My barbarian can teleport. You know?
Right. I mean, that was cool. There's no doubts about that. I could teleport as any class. I mean, I don't know. Diablo 3, they just decided to take that stuff out, and it kind of just makes things less cool, in a sense, I guess.
I mean, certainly you can understand it from like an exploitative point why they want to do that, but you know, have items like that back and just make it the way you're balancing teleport the way it is now for, you know, for the wizard class. Give it a cooldown, you know, make it so that you can't spam it and do crazy stuff like that. I mean, I see no reason why they can't do that, and I certainly see no reason why they shouldn't do that. Why would you not want, you know, one of the biggest things about this game, they were always saying, oh, it's so cool because we've got these skill runes, and you've got all these different options, and, you know, one guy can have his Hammer of the Ancients do this, and another one can have it do this, and it's really cool. Like, why would they not want that feature also with the items? I don't know. I almost want to chalk it up to they just didn't finish it in time with so many other things, like the PvP system and the Enchantress, like all these things that they just weren't able to get around to completing before they launched the game. I almost want to say that that's part of the reason that items don't have those cool things. They just like didn't get to it in time, and then so many people are going to hear that and be like, well, what the fuck? Blizzard had so many years to make this game. How did they not get to that? But
that's something you just expect out of, like, you've come to expect from a Blizzard title. And the fact that Diablo 3 came out and wasn't a title like that, I mean, it just kind of left us all like disappointed in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good point. I mean, so far in Blizzard's I guess repertoire of games, they've all been like complete hits. I mean, StarCraft 1, Diablo 2, everything's lasted for 10 plus years. And now we're getting to the point where, I don't know, I guess we're all kind of growing up and we're seeing this new age of games, and now we have StarCraft 2. World of Warcraft's been around for 8 years now. And Diablo 3 comes out, and people are done with it in a week or two, 3 weeks tops, you know, a month, and all of a sudden there's just nothing left to do.
Well, I mean, and to that point, I said in the video I made earlier this week too, I think Blizzard kind of, the basic of the game, they've made what they wanted to. They made a hack and slash game where you're grinding for loot. Everything that we've talked about so far, though, is still true. Even though I'm going to say that, you know, Blizzard has made the game that they set out to make, there still are these issues and tweaks that need to be made. I have no doubt, though, that in the future there are going to be the adjustments and finally the settling and the balancing that is required to make this like a long-term success. I know a lot of people picked it up and stopped playing it. I think a lot of those people, not everyone, but I think a lot of those people also probably weren't that big into Diablo 2 as well. New people to the franchise, I guess I want to say. I guarantee that a lot of new people to the franchise went into this game and they thought it was going to be like WoW, and they'd be playing it for 12 hours a day for 6 years straight. But it's really not that type of game. You can do that. You just really have to have a taste for monotony. You have to, you know, that's just, you have to enjoy kind of doing the same thing over and over again, because that's what Diablo has always been. And
well,
you know,
you do make a good point, but back in Diablo 2, things were a lot more permanent. Characters, if you messed up like one stat point, you had to remake your character essentially. I mean, obviously that wasn't a good system, and I mean, I do agree with this change that they made into Diablo 3. I mean, people argue customization, and I argue, well, it's not really a customization when there's a right way to do it or a wrong way to do it. So, I mean, obviously, and that's not what I wanted to argue right now. My point here was that things were a lot more permanent in Diablo 2. If I wanted to make a Magic Find character, I had to literally fill that one character with Magic Find gear, pick spells or whatever that would go along with that, and that was my Magic Find character. If I wanted to, let's say I used a Paladin for that. If I wanted to make a Hammer Paladin, well, there's number 2. If I wanted to make a Zeal Paladin, there's number 3. I made a Medic Paladin. Now I've got 4 Paladins just to play 4 different builds. And in Diablo 3, if I want to make 4 different types of barbarians, all I have to do is have 4 different types of gear, if that.
Yeah.
And right, so I mean, basically, I have absolutely no incentive to make a new character. Once I have all 5 classes to 60, other than maybe playing hardcore, I have absolutely zero incentive to making another character of the same class.
Right.
What, you don't want that achievement that says
right?
get a second character of the same class?
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
Is that an achievement? That is really stupid.
Yes,
Yeah.
for every class there's like make a second one, which in Diablo 2 would be perfectly logical. Like you would need to do that. In this game, I'm like, why would I want to level another wizard to 60? That's
unless you just
pointless.
want like the opposite sex for visual, but that's
again
right.
Or hardcore versions.
Does that count towards the achievement though?
I believe so. I mean, it just says
I
classes.
don't know,
Say,
but yeah, I would think so.
yeah.
Oh, I guess then that kind of makes sense then, if that was good. But even something like that, you know, it's funny because you look at that and you might think that's Blizzard's way of attempting to like get people to level up multiple of the same character. But it's like, well, you have to care about achievements for that to be effective at all. And if people out there, anyone like me, just achievements mean nothing at all. You know, like I've talked about before, the only time an achievement is ever, you know, I ever care about it is if it actually gives you something in game, rather than just an arbitrary point system that you can wave and compare EP in size with your friends. That's pointless to me.
Even the achievement system, like, it's just not all that much. All I do is play through the game. I'm already 52% done. I haven't even tried yet. Not that I'm going to. I mean, I might. Just
are there
some
again, I don't care about achievements, so I haven't even looked at them. Are there some like crazy hard achievements? Do you guys know?
Oh, yeah. There's challenge achievements for bosses.
Right, those are kind of cool.
That's cool.
Things that are like complete Act 1 in an hour, stuff like that.
That's cool.
But
there's a ridiculous one for picking up the amount of gold. I believe it's 100 million picking up or something.
Oh, really?
Like that. I think it's just a really high number that you're probably never going to get to. So there are some things in there where it's like, this is just going to take forever. And it's to the point where it's like, I don't even want to try.
Well, I mean, I think that's just one of those things that one day, just over the lifetime,
right?
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll get up to like 950,000. You're like, oh my god, you know, or whatever. Was it 100 million?
I think so. I could be wrong now. So
it's just some crazy number. Yeah, I know. That's cool. All right, now speaking of Endgame, and you know we've kind of talked about the gripes with it. I think we've done a pretty good job of expressing the major issues that people have had with the Endgame. Do any of you have anything to throw in besides kind of what we talked about, items, the repair cost issues, that kind of stuff?
Can I just say that every day leading up to this, I thought to myself, I'm glad that Blizzard isn't having BlizzCon this year because, you know, they don't really have anything to talk about. Now I want it more than ever. Like, I want to sit down in some panel with the developers and hear what they have to say about this stuff. Yeah. Like, I feel like they need to have just a DiabloCon where everyone can just stand in line and ask them questions like, why did you do this? Why is this way? What? Like, I need answers. And I'm glad that Blizzard's starting to answer stuff.
Blue has been very active lately.
It's weird. They're really active, and I think that's because they see a marked drop-off. Like, clearly there's something wrong with the game. And we have to figure out, you know, as a community, what that is, because it's going to drive me crazy. For me, we need to find out what this is, people. Get on it.
In my opinion, it's just what is going to keep players playing. And the problem is that, you know, the Diablo 3 dev team said, hey, Inferno is what's going to keep players playing, and a week after the game came out, Inferno was already done and over with. I mean, not hardcore, but as far as I'm aware, people are already completing Inferno the week after the game came out, and after you can complete Inferno, like, legit, you didn't just exploit and teleport and get to the bosses. If you completely clear Inferno, you know, legitimately, then there's really nothing else for you to do. I mean, sure, you can go level up the other classes, you can go play hardcore if you want to, but essentially, you've done all that there is in the game to do.
And to even add more to that, you know, Jesse, you mentioned people are seeing a marked drop off. I think a majority of people are seeing a huge reduction in just their friends list, people that are on and playing actively. I think to add to that, though, it's important to remember this was stated plainly, you know, during the beta of the game. I heard a few times, I think I remember Bashok specifically saying that for Diablo 2, a majority of the people who purchased the game played through normal once and then stopped playing. That was like a majority of purchases of the game. It was the minority of people who continued to play through the difficulties, try to level up characters to 99, and actually be in that progression of magic find runs and trying to acquire gear and you know, doing PvP and stuff. Like, that was not a majority of the Diablo 2 player base, or at least the people, rather, that was not a majority of the people who purchased the game, how they approached it. Most people played through it once. And so I guess it's not too surprising. It's the same style of game. Lots of people who just approach gaming, they play through the campaign, and then they're done. Especially now, since there's no PvP, they don't even have the option of trying something else. And I think it's just the type of game is fundamentally different from a lot of games, where a lot of games you've got these varying degrees of difficulty, and you can play through them all. But a lot of people are just like, all right, I played the campaign, killed the last boss, oh wait, you want me to go back to Act 1, but it's a little bit harder? No, thank you. Like, I think a large portion of people who bought the game approach that, and then, you know, the people who kind of understand that Diablo is about more than that will continue to play, and the people who actually like a game that's more than that will continue to play. But I don't think that's a majority of the 6 million who bought the game, or 7, whatever.
I mean, Diablo inherently is different than most RPGs.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think to any game, you're able to start the game, and then you choose the difficulty. Do you want to play easy, or do you want to play hard, or do you want to play like insane, or whatever? And now it's just you have to play through normal to get to Nightmare, to Hell, to Inferno, and like you were saying, most people are just like, well, I beat the campaign. What now? I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine just after Diablo 3 came out, and I was asking him if he played Diablo 2, and he was like, yeah, I used to spend hours. I'm like, oh, what was your highest level character? Oh, it was level 30. What, level 30? Did you play on Battle.net, or? He's like, yeah, but I don't know, I like exploring things, and I'm like, well, I used to play for hours, and like my highest is like 95-ish.
Yeah. And
he's like, wow, I've never gotten a character that high, and I'm just thinking, well, that's weird. And you're right, it's just people play the game differently. Once they beat the campaign, you know, with air quotes that you can't see, then the game is over to them.
Yeah, and I mean that's how I approach most games too. Most games with like a campaign, I'll play through it once on whatever difficulty, and then once that's done, that's done. I'll putz around with the multiplayer. So, you know, it's not surprising that there is a drop-off for that reason. I think that the biggest concern is that with the drop-off that's coming from the people who would like to play through Inferno, and again, all the kind of issues that people have been having for the reasons that we've discussed. Now, we've voiced our concerns with Endgame. There has been obviously tons of player feedback. We've also got some feedback from some key figures in the Diablo community. We've got Crypt Tips and Athene feedback video. Did you guys watch this? All of you guys seen these videos?
Yes.
Or? Yes.
Okay, so Kriparian, the barbarian extraordinaire, plays 14 hours a day, just like every day too. Man, it's crazy. And of course, Athene, best gamer in the world, self-proclaimed. They both put videos up last week, and they both got like over 200,000 views, so pretty well seen. And there was even a blue post on the European forums stating that they, he specifically has taken a look at the videos. He thinks that there's some great ideas, and I just wanted to talk about it momentarily. Now, Athene's video was pretty interesting. He had a little bit of a different feedback. He was actually talking about the auction house and talking about how that you should only make gold purchasable, and that you shouldn't even be able to purchase items, and have this one purpose behind the auction house, which would be to buy gold and then use that gold in the gold auction house to buy items. Like, that was his idea, trying to streamline the auction house. He said that he thought that would help things. I'm not sure about that at all. He also mentioned he had this fantastic idea about some hardcore PvP arena thing. That was his idea.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything about that. Everyone knows I came up with it first, so it's fine. He can take all the credit.
We have got the original source for that here on this podcast.
Although I will say now, if Blizzard ever says like, I want to thank Athene for coming up with this great idea, I will sue the pants off all of them. I will get every lawyer in the United States to come down on them. Like, just not of it first, just so I can have my name on it. But other than that,
something I did like that he said, though, I don't know if we mentioned this. He was talking about having like a gladiatorial thumbs up, thumbs down system for executing the loser.
We did talk about that, but I said that we were going to do it for the final round.
Oh yeah, right.
So
right.
at BlizzCon, the last, because everyone else dies. Like, you can't let people just keep living.
Oh, of course.
So at the final round, the last
of course.
people, of course, right? It's a circle of life. If anything, the Lion King taught us that.
Yeah.
But so the final round, like, you'd have the people around the world watching could decide if any of the final 4 players, besides the guy who wins, lives to come back. So maybe like someone really puts up a good fight, that person can come back, and so you can have like a rematch next season between the same characters, which would kind of be cool. I agree. I think his idea was good. That's why I jumped on that. Was like, we need to start a petition. Blizzard hates petitions, but I don't care, just because people, you know, it's a really good idea. But with that said, a lot of people complain like so much time would go into it, and then you lose your character. Man, that sucks. And that's the point.
Yeah, and I mean that's the reason people would watch it, though. You know,
right.
Like a hardcore PvP with a spectator mode for people to be able to watch. So many people would watch that because there's people love drama. Like, that is why The Bachelorette is so, like, popular. I don't... That's really crappy and random that I threw that out there, but it's like
true,
my girlfriend's
right?
favorite show. It's because there's just so much drama. Or you look at, like, the Jersey Shore crap, like, all that stuff. People just love drama. And to have permanent death, everyone would want to watch that who's remotely interested in Diablo 3 PvP. That'd be so much more interesting than regular Arena, where everyone just comes back, you know?
You and I brought this up at the press tour. We were talking to Jay Wilson about that. Look, we want spectator abilities, the ability to gamble, replays, things of that nature.
And back then, and maybe their philosophy has changed, but back then the reason that we got that wasn't happening is because that puts the mindset of the player that this is a hardcore competitive thing, and they didn't want that.
But and I understand that that's what they want. Like, they keep saying we don't want it to be hardcore competitive, and I get that. That's their philosophy, but I look, Blizzard, you're wrong. I'm telling you, you're wrong on this one. I rarely say Blizzard's wrong on stuff, but you're wrong on this one.
Yeah.
And I'm glad Crip and Athene called them out on a lot of stuff. But with that said, I think Criparian's video had a lot more sway with the community, because as much as I love Athene, I guarantee Athene's amount of playtime and actual, like, real legit knowledge of what's happening in the game is nowhere compared to the level of Criparian on this stuff.
And I mean, that should be obvious. Literally, Crip streams 14 hours a day.
Right, and
Like...
Athene took a lot of Athene took a lot of flack from people, because most of the comments were either you copied Crip or you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Even though his ideas are good, I think in this case, I know Athene likes to be the guy who's like the champion of insert whatever he's the champion of. But I think in this case, if you're going to rally around someone, Crip's ideas are pretty solid.
Yeah.
And Blizzard should definitely take a look at those, because they're legit ideas. They're you know.
I'm not trying to cut you off, Jesse. Go ahead. I mean, okay, I just... Nobody said anything about the videos themselves. I mean, let me start off with Athene. I like Athene's concepts. Pretty cool ideas. But yes, it did just seem like he was copying Crip. And then Crip, on that note, I respect Crip. You know, he had a pretty cool, world first Inferno hardcore Diablo kill. That was awesome. He had some awesome ideas as well. But if you watch the video, nobody's going to listen to him. I mean, he seems like a cool dude. He also seemed like he was pretty damn high in the video, and he was like, "Yeah, bro, come talk to me on Skype," because that's gonna happen in a, realistically. Mike Morheim's gonna call him up on Skype. That's never gonna happen. Like, Blizzard's gonna look at that video and think, "What the hell's wrong with this kid?"
I don't know. I think you're giving him less credit than Blizzard does. I think Blizzard realizes. I mean, I think it was on like CNN or something. His world first Inferno clear. It was on some major news network. There was a video about
BBC, I think it was.
Yeah, there you go, BBC. Only the British.
Like I said, I definitely respect him. He had some pretty cool ideas. I think that the way he came off was not the way to go about making that video. If he wanted to make a change, he shouldn't have been, all arrogant and cocky like I am the best. That just, I don't know. To me, it threw me off. And I'm like, wow, why would somebody want to? Even if he is right, somebody's gonna look at this and say, why should we listen to him? It just put the I don't even know what to say. It just sounded to me like I can't believe that he's saying this.
But with all that said, the major thing I picked up from all of this, and I think it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, throughout all the comments and you notice actually I want to look this up right now. Do you know what the Athene video was called? Athene Diablo 3?
Diablo 2 Blizzard Diablo 3 feedback. That's the name of the video.
Feedback.
What are you looking for? Maybe we can.
Well, I am trying to look up numbers. Okay, so Athene Diablo 3 feedback, 291,000 views. Okay, since he posted 291, Crip is roughly in the 200,000 range as well.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, these are, Crip started it, so we got a lot of, buzz, especially from Athene's people who, went there to see what he said to compare to Athene. But with that said, Athene's pretty big when it comes to causing commotion. That's his thing.
That's what he does, yeah.
And so, with that said, though, almost 300,000 views, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot for the stuff he does. And I think the comments in the video when it first appeared pretty much sums it up. A lot of people were like, we just don't care. Diablo's dead. Like, a lot of people said, this is like why do you even care? Like, you're not playing it. You're not playing it right now. Why do you even care? Right? And even though the theme was like, I'm going to try and help fix this game, Blizzard, we should get together. I can work for you. Something like that. Like, I'm an engineer. I know this stuff. Again.
Yeah, that one. I don't believe you said that at the beginning of the episode. This is easy stuff. I'm a software engineer.
Yeah, and so the thing that really shocked me was a lot of people were just like, why is this even... There's so many better things you could be doing right now. Like, why do you even care?
I would have to say, though, I mean, looking at, like, the YouTube community, I love you guys. I would say that a lot of those people just aren't like hardcore Diablo fans. They're probably, a lot of them encompass what we talked about in the Diablo 2 world, where they played it through normal once and then stopped. Like, maybe that's just how they approach Diablo 3, which is fine. People can game however they want.
That Blizzard said they knew that, right? Blizzard
yeah. Oh yeah.
We know there aren't a lot of hardcore Diablo fans, but they know that from experience that there aren't a lot of hardcore fans, period, for anything, which I think is something that if any company would know, it'd be Blizzard. They run a incredibly hardcore MLG StarCraft community. They have a raiding community that's insane for WoW, but for all the casuals, they keep stuff in there. And so you would figure if any company would understand the value of an end game, it would be Blizzard, because that's how they keep their games functioning for so long. And if we've learned anything from new releases of MMOs or major games, if there's nothing to do after you beat it once, it's a pointless game to play again. And so, like, the greatest example you can even point to is Star Wars, The Old Republic. It was so hyped. Everyone was like, this is going to be the greatest game ever. And then it comes out, there's literally one thing to do end game, and people just drop it.
And it was
like
a good
bad
game.
Habit.
I love
it. It was a really good game, but there was nothing to do. Nothing to do.
Yeah.
And so people were like, well, I saw my story, I beat it, great, I'm done. It's not worth paying this amount of money a month for.
Yeah.
And so they just dropped it. And the thing that you would figure Blizzard would understand is because that's how they keep people playing WoW, is all the little tiny things you can do, the faction grinding and the daily quests and the vendor the crap. My brain just died. You know, all the you know what I'm talking about. All the different junk you can do at the end of WoW.
Yeah.
Plus raiding, plus item farming, plus all that stuff for the people who want to do that. So you would figure there would be at least something for Diablo 3, and I've always said, and they should have done this, the storylines for the 3 companions that you get that help you, even though their story unfolds over time, it would be such a genius idea to go back and have, like, you have to go specifically with the certain people to different locations to complete, like, mini quests for them to help resolve their storyline. That would have been so... That would have done a lot.
That's even already, like, possible. Like, in the lore, it's already possible. I mean, the Scoundrel talks about how he wants to go back to, Kingsport is what it is? Right, and then the Templar talks about how he wants to go back to whatever the name of the place he came from. I don't remember.
I think he comes from, what's the name of the city to the west of Tristram? The main city?
Westmarch?
Westmarch, there you go, yeah.
I was going to say Hyrule for some reason.
Apparently that's where the Templars... I mean, and because the stories themselves, right, you have, like, the Enchantress who has this, like, 15,000, I don't remember how many years she's been out. That storyline. You have the Templars who apparently... There's some really demonic crap going on at the Templar, like, main base. The Scoundrel has all these different, like, plot elements that you can use for him as well. And it seems like there's so much there, and there's story, right? Hell, even Shen, right? You could go help his ass because there's so much there. Is he this god? Is he not? What is he looking for? Help him find that damn gem. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do that the story talks about, and it seems like something that they're like, well, we'll just put that in an expansion. Like, that's such a pointless thing to do.
Yeah, it does seem that way. And, you know, like, a lot of people have even said, hey, Diablo 2 wasn't even good until Lord of Destruction came out. Like, people are saying that. I've read that numerous times places, so.
I mean, it seems like there's all this opportunity there. Like Hadrig's storyline, you have all these auxiliary characters that you could do things with. Like, I know they have, essentially, you're grinding up your jewel crafting and your blacksmithing, and I get that. But if they had like a rep system with these characters or a quest system with these characters, they could really, that could have extended the life for a long time, because maybe you have to find items for this. Like they could do it just like the secret pony level, right? And so you find items for these characters, and then you combine them, and then you and the character go someplace, and that activates an entirely different quest chain that can be played at any time. And I think that kind of stuff would add tons, because there's all these little things in the game, like the Blackrock Ledger, for example, right? Has anyone completed that book?
I mean, I went and farmed all 6 pages.
What happens?
But I mean, and I just nothing. I mean, I just got it to hang on. It's, as far as I'm aware, it's the only item that, other than the pony level stuff, that cannot be sold. So I just thought, hey, what the hell? Let me get all 6 pages and hang on to it and see what happens.
I mean, because it's an obvious Lost reference. I mean, it's very clear. That's what it is. But it does nothing. Like, I guess it's supposed to be like it's a joke and it's fun.
But then why? Like, why would it not be? Why could we not sell it? I mean, do something with it.
Like, make a like an island level, and there's smoke monsters and crap there. Like, it's so easy, so easy. But I don't understand why that wasn't in the game to begin with. They have all this stuff, and it seems, I don't know if they were working at the end there with like skeleton crew. It's weird. I hope all of this like pain and heartache will be justified when Titan comes out, and it's supposed to be, it's like the greatest game ever made, because they put all their money into that. hopefully this will all be justified in the end. But I feel like,
unfortunately, it won't be justified for Diablo fans still.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like what they did is they said, we're gonna make this game. They pumped all this money in the game. They really pimped this thing out. They promoted it like crazy at BlizzCon. Everyone was really excited. And then between BlizzCon, which was, when you think about it, last October, so not even a year ago.
Yeah.
Between that time and the release, it was like something crazy happened, and I just want answers, because they took a game that seemed like it was really intricate, and they had all those different stats you could mess with, and they said, like, let's dumb it down. At the time, I was like, okay, I'm cool with that. I like that. I like the casual nature of it. But then they didn't have any the content in the game wasn't there. So the assumption that, okay, they made the game easier to play and there's tons of stuff to do, perfect. But they just made it easier to play and there's hardly anything to do.
Yeah.
It's weird. I just don't understand. Yeah. I just wish I had answers.
Well, I mean, I don't know. This is why I was saying something like Pandemonium events would make sense, especially in the context of the game. They already have random events. All they have to do is make it so that way it requires something special to spawn, similar to the pony level, and you experience this random event. It's already within their, their ability, and I'm not saying I'm a software engineer. This should be easy, but and by the way, on that note, like I wasn't talking trash about Athene and Crip. I was just, those were my opinions in the videos. I still respect them, and I thank them for doing that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, like I was saying, Pandemonium events would make perfect sense, and not only that, but it would take away the factor that Inferno, you're farming Inferno gear to farm Inferno for more gear. Instead, you'd be farming Inferno gear to complete this ridiculously hard event.
Yeah. And Jaded, I'd like to ask you too. These two yabbermouths haven't let you get a word in, but I just want to know, because I think that you might be the one who probably plays the most, at least I've seen online the most out of all of us. So I do want your opinion on the end game solutions that Crip and Athene, pick whatever you want, kind of came up with. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you that you think will be a really good implementation for Diablo 3 that'll help increase its longevity?
Yeah, one that really stood out to me was, one that really resonated was Crip's when he talked about champion levels. Something they took out of the game was the level 99, insane grind, right? That everyone never really got to, or if you did, it took just an insane amount of farming. That's something I think the game's missing, because it just adds another reason to go farm. Like, yeah, I might not get drops, but at least I'm progressing my character in some way. Right. So what Crip talked about was champion levels, and this was taken from Dark Age of Camelot, which I didn't play, so I don't know a whole lot about it. But basically, you would hit 60, and then you would get like these champion levels where, you know, you just get little rewards or little stat increases, just a little something to push you, a little carrot on the stick to push you to make that character like have more value. Because right now, every 60 is the same. And there's no difference between my barbarian and your barbarian if you give me your gear. Like, there's no connection there from the player to the character. And so, like, maybe adding just these simple champion levels would really help that aspect, as well as give you something to work towards.
It's almost like a prestige system, which obviously has a lot of success.
Exactly what I was about to say. They could take a page out of Call of Duty's book, you know, Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and say, okay, let's make a prestige system. Obviously, they couldn't call it prestige because I don't know if it would make sense in this, you know, in Diablo. But
yeah,
sure,
I mean,
why not?
They have guild perks in WoW, right? You guys know about that?
Yeah.
So you level up your guild, you get guild perks. I mean, they could do something similar in Diablo as well. And you know, put guilds in.
That's hilarious because that's almost like killing two birds with one stone. It'd give incentive to have clans or whatever, or guilds, and and then have those little perks as well.
Heart of the Swarm is they're adding clans and guild support for Heart of the Swarm, so it's not that far off.
Yeah, and you know, that's funny that you mentioned that because I've talked about this before. The idea of having just a BattleNet clan system, like across all guild/clan, whatever the heck you want to call it, like a system across all of BattleNet, across multiple games, you know. And if doing something like that, I think would be really cool as well. But I mean, specific to Diablo 3, I like that. I agree with you. I thought that was a cool idea that was mentioned in Crip's video, and I think that could add a lot to the game because for everything we talked about, like the frustration behind farming, repair cost, just how difficult it is to find upgrades, the existence of the auction house, all those reasons. If there was still another reason to grind, another reason to feel like you were progressing your character that wasn't just the item hunt, adding on top of it, then I think that a lot more people would be actually interested in continuing to do that. So yeah, that's a great.
And he also talked about like ladder resets and how those aren't in the game. Now I never cared about the, like, you know, first to 99 or first to any level type of thing. That wasn't really something I was interested in. But what ladder reset also gave was a purpose to play a lot, because the game's going to reset at a certain point, and you're going to lose all that gear. So what you do with these,
to start over.
Yeah. So what you do with these champion levels is you would just reset the champion levels, and you wouldn't reset like the whole character. That way, no one has to worry about real money auction house getting reset, or you know, anything where you put money into it that's now in the game getting reset. And I thought that was pretty smart, and you know, I'm all for something like that in the game.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that was one of the things that stood out to the most to me as well. Between their two videos, I mean, a lot of great ideas, and you know, the community, of course, has a lot of great ideas. You really got to dig on the forums because it's mostly just a lot of trolling and people calling people fanboys and noobs and basically very unconstructive content. But there are also some really good ideas out there, and I know that Blizzard is there, and they're listening to the community, and they certainly understand. They have come out and explicitly stated that the end game is not where they want it to be. They've got changes coming. And actually, speaking of that, we can just quickly, I did want to make mention of the hot fixes that went through on June 29th. So already they're realizing the issues that people are having, and they're trying to work towards that. On the 28th, I'm sorry, is when they retuned the drop rate for items in Inferno, and also in the late acts of Hell, increasing them, making it much more likely that people are going to find stuff. And this was a good change. You know, I'm happy that they did this. It's a step in the right direction. They have also, in 1.3a, they made the change so that wear and tear isn't as much of a problem, so that playing the game, something that I was frustrated with, just playing, not even dying, just playing was costing me so much gold. It's like, this is friggin' stupid. Really killed a lot of incentive for me, and they're making those changes. So Blizzard's taking the steps that they feel are necessary, you know, at whatever pace they need to try to get this game so that people are interested in continuously playing it. Again, my only concern is that people who who aren't interested in keeping up with the Joneses in terms of Diablo 3 and coming back after the stuff's implemented. I think major patches that get a lot of hype, like the PvP patch, I think that is going to bring a lot of people back to the game. I really have no question about that. And you know, it'll be really interesting to see what they come up with and kind of what system they decide to implement to give Diablo 3 more of an end game, at least however much a game like this can actually have. So, all right, well then, that was quite a lengthy discussion.
Yeah, it was.
I think we had some good chat in there. Also, quickly, just want to bring up the fact before we wrap this up with some user questions. I do want to bring up the mention of the Magic Find gear swapping, and we can just talk about this for a moment as well. So there was a post on the official forums about gear swapping Magic Find, and Blizzard kind of doesn't like where it's at. The idea that people are fighting with their normal gear and then switching to a full set of Magic Find gear right before killing a champion pack or right before killing a boss. And they just don't like it because a lot of people are doing it because they feel it's necessary, but they're not enjoying doing it. At least that's what Blizzard has stated here in this post. So what I think is most interesting, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen this happen frequently, if at all, really, with Blizzard. But maybe I'm wrong here. Is this the first time that Blizzard has been like, "Hey guys, here's 5 options. Which one do you like the best? We'll put it in the game." Is this new? Has this happened in other games before?
As far as I'm aware, this is the first time they've really ever done anything like that. And somebody, I don't remember who it was, earlier in today's episode, they said that basically Diablo 3 is a lot more streamlined, and that's true. The development of Diablo 3 has been streamlined, and it seems like they're keeping that open because it seems like, well, actually in the blog post, I think it said it right in there. Blizzard or Wyatt said, "Hey, we know that this was going to happen. Philosophically, I'm alright with it, but apparently, players don't find this fun, so this is why we're bringing this up." And then that was when they went ahead and, listed the options.
Yeah. But did anything like this ever happen with WoW? This is just absurd to me. It's good, but it's absurd that this is actually happening. Jesse, do you remember anything remotely like this in WoW? Blizzard being like, "Hey, give us your opinion. We'll throw it in the game," kind of thing.
I remember Blizzard being asking the community for not suggestions, but what they thought on stuff.
Yeah.
But I also remember Blizzard never actively doing what people wanted. Right?
Sure.
There's a really good actually it's kind of timely. WoW Krendor, who does Blizzard WoW machinima stuff,
yeah,
just released a video called "What If?" I think it's "What If Fans Ran WoW" or something like that, and it's essentially everything that every fan ever complains about. And so it's what would the starting area be like? And some dude's just dragons. And then at the end of it, one of the guys is "So, all right, here's the idea for instance. It's Illidan riding Deathwing, and you fight like Hogger, and it's basically just all the crap that people want to see combined. And it's there's 100-man raids, and you get poison, and in order to stop the poison, you hit a gong, and half the raid dies, but then you stop the poison. And it's just all that nonsense. And the sick thing is, that's real stuff people want. And so, clearly Blizzard's not going to listen to everyone, but I think because of the just rage over some of the choices with Diablo, I don't know if they'll implement the changes, but I think it's a very tactical decision on their part, because by saying, "Hey, provide us with your feedback, how can we change stuff, what do you want to see," it gives people an outlet to direct their focus on positive things for Blizzard, and instead of, "Oh my god, you ruined this game, I hate you so much."
Yeah.
So rather than just spamming forums with hate, they can focus their I don't want to say anger, but their frustration towards Blizzard, and give them feedback that Blizzard can use rather than just pure nerd rage, which I think is good, but also I think it's more of a calming measure for the community rather than we're actually going to implement all this stuff.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And if you guys listening to this haven't seen the post yet, just go to Diablo3.com. It's right on the front page, titled "Magic Find Gear Swapping." And they're essentially saying, "Hey, gear swapping isn't what we want it to be because people don't really enjoy doing it. So these are kind of 5 hypothetical possibilities to alleviate the situation. Option 1 is to set a magic find cap. Option 2, to slowly adjust magic find over time. Option 3, use your average magic find or your lowest magic find percent of the last 5 minutes. And then there's 0 out your magic 5% for 3 minutes after swapping out gear. And then lastly, gear swapping interacts with Nephilim Valor. So those are kind of 5 options, like hypothetical things that they might do to try to change the magic find gear swapping from what people are currently doing. And they just kind of want your opinion on it. So go ahead and chime in if you're really interested in the longevity of this game. Then, you know, every vote counts, every opinion matters. So so just voice what you're thinking. Let them know on the forums. It actually links you right to a forum topic that I think has over like 750 pages right now. Something ridiculous.
I just double checked. It's 772.
Yeah,
that's over 15,000 posts. That's insane.
Lots of people chiming in on Magic Find and just say, hey, what do you think is best? Do any of you have any input here on the Magic Find gear swapping? Anything that you liked over the other? Jaded, have you thought about this at all?
Can I just say I was surprised how many people, or at least how many comments I saw that were like, don't change it at all. It's perfectly fine. Like, how can you think that the system in place is fine? Now I can see the side where it's like, okay, maybe the choices that they have up there aren't the best, or you don't like them or agree with them. But the way the system works now is just, it's completely flawed from a, you know, just from a game developer standpoint. Like, it's just a bad system. It takes up all your inventory space. You know, you die when you switch to Magic Find. Like, that's not fun for anyone. I don't see how anyone's having fun with that. So I think the easiest way to do it is to just cut Nef stacks when you switch. That way it stops the player from doing it. But on the flip side, have something positive about this change, because that's kind of been Blizzard's method of patching the game so far, is everything's been negative. Everything's been a nerf or you know, hindering the player in some way. So I just want to see something positive come out of this. But you know, the easiest way to do it is just to cut the Nef stacks when you switch gear, in my opinion.
For options 2, 3, and 4, they're all like over time, and those can easily just be gamed if you just wait it out however much time it takes to get that out. So right off the bat, I don't think options 2, 3, and 4 should work. Option 1 makes sense. It's a good solution. I don't like making caps, so I'm not a fan of that. And as far as option 5 goes, same thing as what Jaded just said, but the problem with this is, okay, now I have an option. Do I want to equip 300% Magic Find, or do I want, you know, or do I want 75% Magic Find? So obviously, I'm gonna end up keeping my gear in anyway. Okay, cool. I can either, basically that's a trade-off. Do I want 300% Magic Find from my gear, or 75% from Nephilim Valor? And anybody in their right mind is gonna say, well, I'll take 300% over 75. So that really doesn't solve it. I mean, I like it. Makes sense. But when you think about it that way, it doesn't really solve the problem. And like I said, for option 1, I'm not a big fan of a hard cap, so I would like to see a different solution. Like Lyra said, they didn't want to do gear set, like different sets like they did in Diablo 2, just because it doesn't solve the problem, it just encourages it. So I'd like to see something more creative, say like the Talisman being brought back and they remove Magic and Gold from all items and only put that on Charms, which go in the Talisman. Would be interesting to see. Not that I just came up with that or anything right now. I don't know.
Any input, Jesse? Or are you even? I mean, do you even do Magic Find runs? I don't think that's how you game D3.
I mean, I'm glad that I'm not focused on that, because I would hate to have dumped a ton of time and energy into something that they're probably going to fix. Yeah. Hopefully, crossing fingers.
That's happening a lot, though. They're just like because there's so many changes that have gone through over the past few weeks. It is pretty frustrating. I guess I just cut you off and completely stopped your train of thought. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I mean, I think I honestly don't really think much upon item find. I mean, I had started to collect items that I thought would be beneficial, but I would much rather them fix it before I actually actively start trying to do it.
Yeah.
With one or more characters, because right now, any items I need, because I'm not doing Inferno at like an active pace, like I'm just like cruising through hell having a good time. I think that I don't have that desire to like push forward and like I have to get all these items right now.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of okay with not with them changing this stuff.
Yeah.
If they do, I mean, this is stuff they're saying. Well, we're thinking about it. So really, we can't say that's going to happen or not.
Right. And that's I think a lot of people are in that boat with you too. A lot of people are just like, well, hopefully they make these changes before it affects me, or some people are just even like, I'm just going to take a break until this stuff comes through because I don't want to, have to deal with the crappy side of things until they fix it, sort of deal. So, pretty interesting. All right, well, I guess that does it for major topics there. There was also some fan art and wallpapers and stuff. Those are all on Diablo3.com. I don't think we need to take the time to go over that, but you can take a look at that. I do want to mention, though, that Blizzard is going to be at Gamescom. Not BlizzCon is going to be at Gamescom. Blizzard is going to Gamescom this year, and they're just going to be doing some, let's see exactly what they plan to do here. It says, pleased to announce this year that they'll be showcasing Mista Pandaria, Diablo 3, and StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. So there's going to be some stuff about all of those games at this year's Gamescom. And Gamescom is going to be in Cologne, Germany on August 15th to the 19th this year. So if you are in Europe and want to go to that, then that'd be great. Take a look. I don't know what they're going to do for Diablo, though. I'd be interested. Maybe that's...
If you remember back from last year, and we were talking about this earlier as well, Gamescom 2011 is when they announced Inferno.
Yeah.
So...
I wouldn't be surprised if they either hold it back or just plan to release the PvP around the same time, just so they've got something to show there.
That might make sense.
Otherwise, I don't know what they plan to do for Diablo 3. They're obviously not announcing an expansion. People would be rip shit. That'd be so funny. The game just came out like 4 months ago. Here's an expansion.
PvP's not even out yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that might be some PvP stuff from Gamescom. I would not be surprised if that's what ends up being announced there. So that'd be interesting. And then lastly, also there was a timeline added there, a Blizzard timeline. Nice little visuals there showing from all the way back in 1991 when they were Silicon and Synapse. Oh, how things have changed. Going on to, they got Software Developer of the Year and changing into Chaos Studios, etc., etc. It goes all the way down through all their games, kind of their major milestones in their history. It was neat to look at, just a nice little retrospective there.
That was back when they did Rock and Roll Racing, right?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Heck yeah. Lost Vikings.
Titan will be a Rock and Roll Racing MMO. That'd be so weird.
That would be weird, actually.
Some free to play, buy skins.
Like the Lost World of Vikings.
I just want to point out for the record, anyone who ever sees those, I know at BlizzCon they have them. They have like this a look back like booth or wall.
Yeah.
Anytime you see one of those, I just want you to go and look through the pictures of all the old staff and tell me if you can find Chris Metzen. Because Chris Metzen current does not look like Chris Metzen past.
No,
it's amazing. Totally different. It's like he went from like uber nerd to like, hey ladies,
hey,
what's going on? It's amazing.
Check out
everyone
my
else
shades.
Pretty much like Joey Ray Hall. Pretty much
exactly
looks the exact same. Like there's no difference at all. Like most of the guys, like Mike Morhaime looks the exact same except like younger.
Yeah.
And dare I say even thinner, which is very funny to me. But like everyone looks the same except Metzen, which is hilarious. It's kind of amazing. Just take the time to find one of those pictures and see if you can just identify him. Because it's like finding Waldo. It's like, wait, is he even in this picture? It's wonderful.
That's too much. All right. Going to wrap things up with some user questions. Starting with the first question, I think this is a really good question. And, with all of our talk about this game and kind of issues that it may be having, we talk about where it's done well and kind of the issues that it's had. One thing that comes up is people call Diablo 3 a failure, and people say because people are leaving the game after playing for so long, it's a failure. This first question asks about the value of Diablo 3. So from Facebook, I haven't bought Diablo 3 yet. Would you still suggest getting it, or do you feel it's not worth it? Is it going to be somewhat like Diablo 2, where you don't play for a while, then later on it might be fun again? So his question, is the game worth $60? Hell yes.
Definitely.
I played... I think I've played for over 100 hours. I haven't checked the time in a while, but $60 for 100 hours of entertainment. I've talked about fatigue. I played too much. I got kind of annoyed after making a purchase on the auction house. But that doesn't mean that I think the game's crap or that it's not worth it or that it's a failure. most games, you're not going to get that kind of value proposition of spending $60 and having 100+ hours of playtime. It is absolutely worth it. You guys can chime in too, but I just think people who say that's a failure, that it wasn't worth the money, are just being ridiculous and not realizing how much entertainment they got for the amount of money that they spent on it.
And
yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
no, from Blizzard's standpoint, it's not a failure. They made a ton of money off this game. And I know that us as fans playing it are probably like, man, it's a failure, just because it didn't meet our expectations. But I'm pretty sure Blizzard, somewhere in their Uncle Scrooge money bin, are just rolling around in the amount of money they made off this game. Because it's, like was mentioned at the very beginning, this is the highest selling PC game of all time. Like, it's the most selling, fastest selling. It's impressive. So that's just another, credit accolade they can throw up on the board.
Yeah.
And even though people are like, oh, I burn out on it so fast, let's be honest, like we had said earlier too, most people just play it once through. And those people aren't burnout. Those people spent $60 on a game, played the game, and we're happy and we're done. I mean, that's what happens with 90% of the games you get for Xbox or PS3 or whatever. Right? There are many games I play. I have a stack of 360 games downstairs that I've beaten and that just sit there because I'm too lazy to take the GameStop to be told that they're only worth like $5.
Yeah.
So
and like the same boat. I've got like hundreds of Steam games that I've played a third of, And I could say a lot of those games, even though I didn't complete it for time or whatever reason, like it was still worth it for me. I was worth spending it. It was a good game. I enjoyed what I played of. After spending so much time on Diablo, and I know you just mentioned, Jesse, that from a lot of players they consider the game a failure, but consider like the amount of time that you've played the game, how much you spent on it, and compare it to other either forms of entertainment or just other games. Well worth the money, at least that's my opinion. Look at most games, $60, 6 to 8 hour campaigns, you're done.
Right, and that's it. So I mean, let's just stretch and say 10 hours. That's $6 an hour. Diablo 3, like I think I've got probably close to, if not more than 200 hours. So for me, like, let's just say 180 because it's nice and even. So, well, although it's not really even at all. It's what is it, $3 an hour or something?
Get to your point. God damn.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's my point. $3 an hour. That's like going bowling, right? So I don't know.
Give me something.
All right. Well, you like Diablo, so now you're spending $3 an hour on something you enjoy.
No, I mean it's an excellent point. People always like to reference movies. I don't think it's whatever. It's just like you're spending money on entertainment. Look at the hours you're getting for the amount of money that you're investing into the game, and you compare it to an average game. And I guarantee you, everyone listening to this podcast right now, as much as you may dislike D3 for that reason or this reason, the amount of entertainment value you've gotten for the amount of money you have spent, I guarantee is worth it for you.
Actually, a movie is a perfect example. You play 200 hours of Diablo 3, that means you got to see about 100 movies. That's $700 if you don't have a date, right?
Which obviously applies to everyone
if you bring your girlfriend or wife, fiance, whatever. So $60 for 200 hours or $1,400 for 200 hours. You guys choose. Be financially, I don't even know a good word for this. Responsible. Be financially responsible. Buy Diablo 3 and don't see a movie.
That's so funny.
Another thing to remember.
Advertising campaign.
Yeah.
Be financially responsible. Buy Diablo 3.
Yeah. Another thing to remember too is this game could get like 50 patches from now until next year. It's going to be a completely different game. You might want to jump in and play it again later and see how things are going, how your character stacks up then. So, I mean, you might get more than just the initial first playthrough out of the game.
I mean, they're adding tons of content. We already know that a huge PvP patch is coming. That adds a ton of value to the game, and a ton of replayability that I'm sure a lot of people are going to take advantage of. I don't know, people asking or people calling the game a failure, I think that's a bit much. Does it have its issues? Certainly. Blizzard's aware of them. They're addressing them. Is it worth $60? It was worth it for me. I spent so much time on the game, and I'm still going to continue to spend time on the game in the future, even with my little hiatus from it currently. So, I don't know. I think people just took kind of what I stated earlier in the week the wrong way. I just, because I kind of was talking about my issues with the game currently, but that doesn't mean that I think the game's a failure or that it's not worth the money, because I certainly think it was. Again, just the time to amount of money spent on it proposition, it's a lot more than I get from a lot of other forms of entertainment. So,
I told you, be financially responsible.
That's right. That is correct. Let me think here. I got a couple other questions here. One of them asks if they're saving rune words in the third profession for an expansion. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm assuming that, I don't know, because wasn't there some other charms too, right? Or no?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before. They had the talisman that you put charms in the talisman. They took that out. It's probably going to come back in expansion.
Right. They even said it, like that's something that we're going to be looking to have back in the future, but just not having it now. So yeah, of course we're going to see all that stuff as well. Question from Steve here on Facebook, and I think that this is the one we'll wrap it up with. Should Blizzard just suck it up and make the gearing and auction house mechanics more like World of Warcraft? Nobody ever complained about the auction house ruining WoW, or that finding drops were usable was impossible. It's an interesting question. I would say that WoW is certainly different because WoW specific bosses have like set tables of loot that they can drop. So I think gearing up in WoW is a little bit different. And I'm not sure about the auction house thing. Do you guys have anything on that question? I'm just...
I mean, I didn't really play with the auction house too much in WoW, but...
Obviously, the primary difference is that people are spending real money on the auction house. I think the biggest problem with the current auction house, one of the biggest problems with the current auction house, is just the filtering system. I find it very cumbersome, and I would also like to see some sort of comparative value thing. I don't know if that's a proper wording for it, but just to see like how much is something like this selling for.
Oh.
Why? What were you saying?
I thought you were talking about like comparing it to the gear that you're wearing right now.
Yeah, that too. But what I'd like to see is like, you'll show an item, it'll be a set item level, whatever. Let's just say item level 61 weapon that's around 800 DPS or something, like a 100
they could
weapon.
just do like what they did for commodities. Last 10 of this item sold for X.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't have that, because it can be very frustrating to sort through the auction house. I mean, unless you consistently drop down the max value, the first thing you get is just completely overpriced crap. And that's like the first page of population will be that, unless you cut back on like the maximum buyout price or whatever. So yeah, I'd like to see something like that for the auction house. I think that would help a lot, but that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that does it for this episode of DiabloCast. I want to thank all three of you for joining. I know, again, it's been a few weeks, and people have also asked me whether or not this is going to be the last DiabloCast ever. I don't know. I think we'll keep it going. I'll keep everyone updated as to the schedule. May look to make it bi-weekly. We'll see what happens, though. I guess we'll find out next week. I'm so just like unreliable and inconsistent. I don't know. Just keeping it real. That's all. For Kevin, Jaded, and Jesse, this has been Dennis. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you sometime in the future. Eventually.
Take it easy, guys.
Maybe.
Adios.
See you guys.
Oh, DiabloCast.